Welcome to Electric Evolution with Liz Allan. This podcast explores the transition to net zero and the systems driving real change in how we move, live and power our world. Every week I sit down with the people leading that change, those offering insight, innovation and impact in many ways people don't fully see until they hear their stories. If you're ready for real conversations that inspire action and drive change, please like this video, subscribe to the channel and join us on this journey, and let's cut through the noise and build a better future together. Hi everybody and welcome back to another episode of Electric Evolution. Today I have a lovely couple of ladies with me from Herschel Infrared Heaters. So I've got Jane Lanceley and also Amy Howells. So Jane is the domestic sales manager at Herschel, and Amy is business development for South Wales and the Southwest. That's quite a big area, isn't it, really?
It is, yes, it is.
But thank you for joining me. I'm going to start off, before I even let you speak, by saying I told you this, I've been wanting to get you on this podcast for over 3 years. So I'm so glad that I've actually managed to get you on, because I've been really impressed with what you do, and speaking to somebody a few years ago at Fully Charged was just, right, okay, I need to get them on. Finally managed it. So thank you for joining me, ladies.
Very happy to be here.
So I just want to start off by I always talk to people, even those two of you, talk to people about what you've done. And Jane, you've been at Herschel for 11 years, but you told me a little nugget, didn't you? There's a few little nuggets that you told me before we were recording. So give us a little bit of that background before your 11 years at Herschel, and then talk about, so what got you into working at Herschel?
Well, yeah, so before I was here, I've done quite a number of different things. I worked in HR for quite a long time, but then I ran a franchise teaching baby signing. So teaching babies how to communicate before they become verbal, just so they can get through all those difficult parts of childhood, being able to tell their parents when they're hungry and tired, etc., etc. So that was a lovely thing to do. And we did it through song, through singing. So that was all very nice. When my children were small, it was a very nice thing to do as well. And then following that, I worked in a state agency for a number of years, and then I came over to Herschel initially in more of an administrative role, and then very quickly kind of totally fell in love with the product, and it became evident that I really enjoyed talking to people about it a lot. And it's a fantastic product, so it's very, very straightforward and easy to show people the benefits and sell. So I went into the sales side of things, and and now it's 11 years later, and we've been through a lot of changes and all very positive, and it's been an amazing journey. And here I am now, domestic sales manager.
And there's another little nugget that you told me as well, isn't there? Because you're a bit famous as well, aren't you?
No.
Come on, you've got to say it.
Videos, and then it probably referred to what I did, the Ideal Shopping Home channel. Went on there a couple of times, did a couple of live sessions there, selling some of our products with the host. You have a host with you on those channels, and then you have a discussion, for 45 minutes, and they'll put the products up on the side and offers and things like that. So that was an interesting experience as well. Yeah, one everyone should give a go.
I don't know whether I'd like to be on live TV like that. Thank you very much. I'm quite
going back. There's no cutting anything.
So Amy, what about you? Give us a little bit of your background, my love.
So I did sociology and criminology in university in Cardiff. When I left there, I'm not quite sure what I intended to do, but I ended up in sales. So I've always done a face-to-face sales role. So it's either going to be sort of regional sales or business development. Worked for a lighting manufacturer for nearly 10 years, and then thought, I might come out of this now and have a change of scenery, but no, ended back up in sales again doing that. So I think I've just fallen into that role really, and had quite a few different sales roles over the years, and then came to Herschel. And obviously you speak to so many different people during the day. There's, you could have somebody who just wants to heat their house or a one-bedroom flat, through to various other things like commercial, and obviously the heritage range, which I know we'll get on to a bit later. So that's me in a nutshell.
And there's so many exciting products that you guys have got. I have seen them in a couple of people's houses, and I said to you, didn't I? The room that I record this podcast in used to be the coldest room in our house. So I was looking at putting some of your panels in, but when we got the heat pump, this became the warmest room in the house. But it doesn't mean that I would definitely consider your panels moving forward. So can we talk a little bit about the heritage of Herschel? So how long is it since Herschel was founded, and what were the aims for the company to start off with?
I think it must be around, as I said, I've been here 11 years, so it's 3 or 4 years before that, I think. So it's probably about 15, 16 years now. Herschel. So you know who William Herschel is, who we're named after?
Tell us.
Yeah, so William Herschel discovered far infrared way over 200 years ago now. So we are named after Herschel. And there's a lovely little connection actually, because there's a museum all around William Herschel. He was also an astronomer and a musician in Bath, so just down the road from us here in Bristol. Yeah. And that's actually heated by some of the Herschel panels. So that's a nice little connection there. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, so yeah, about 15 years ago, as I say, and initially we were just in a very small office up in Bristol. When I started, that's where there were very few of us, and then obviously we've expanded since then. We moved to another larger office up in the central Bristol as well. But then about I think it would be about 5 or 6 years ago now, we've moved down to a much larger site down here in Avonmouth. So we started off with our offices and our warehouse, and then about 3 years ago we opened our production facility just across the way, which is hugely exciting. That's where we're doing all our manufacturing here in the UK. So yeah, it's been an amazing journey getting here, and we've expanded considerably over those years.
So so how did kind of the founder of Herschel, how did they decide to go into providing or manufacturing infrared heaters?
Well, there was definitely a need for it. It's always been popular over on the continent for a lot longer than it was here. They've always used electric heating over there. And, over here in the UK, there wasn't much choice in terms of efficient electric heating. You can get your storage heaters and your electric convector panels, but infrared is a more efficient way of heating with electricity, but a simpler way. Of course, you've got your heat pumps as well. But with infrared, you don't have to do your whole house solutions. You can do your whole house solutions, absolutely. But you can also doing it, like you were saying about heating your office there. You can heat one room in a house on its own. You can do it piecemeal. You can heat room by room. You don't have to do it all at the same time. So it's a really flexible option as well as being a very efficient option. So there's definitely a space for this kind of heating over here. And of course, the whole premise is it's a low carbon technology as well, and that's the space that we're really wanting to be in. We're a very sustainable technology as well. So that it was that and the need that has developed over the years really, and has brought us to where we are now. So
what kind of, how many kilowatts are the panels? So for example, what heat are they kicking out? Are they kind of varied dependent on the sizes?
Yeah, absolutely. And we should probably talk about exactly what they are and what they do. So the panels themselves, what they're actually doing is, unlike most forms of heating, they're not heating the air. They are heating the thermal mass of a room directly. And by that we mean the surfaces, so the walls, the floors, the ceilings, any objects in the room, and us as well. They will heat us directly as objects as well, and that's what makes them so efficient. They're radiant heat. So they're storing that heat in the thermal mass and then radiating it back out. So if you're in a room and you're feeling cold, the reason you're actually feeling cold is the surfaces around you, the objects around you. If they're colder than you, they will steal your far infrared heat from you. So if you can warm up those surfaces to be just a little bit warmer than you, they will stop stealing your heat and you will be comfortably warm in a room. And also, they are once they've heated those surfaces, they are radiating out the heat as well. So they're controlled by a thermostat, and you set in that thermostat the temperature you want the room to be, and it will bring the room up to that temperature. But in doing that, because they're doing it in that way, heating the surfaces first, you need to run them for a lot less time than you would for other forms of heating. When you heat the air and you turn your heating off, you very quickly lose the benefit because it's not stored anywhere. But with infrared, because it's heated up those surfaces, you turn the heating off, it continues to radiate out for longer, so you just don't need to run it for long. So that is what makes it so efficient. And then the fact that you have a thermostat in each room. So you are controlling each room as its own zone. So we discussed a little bit earlier about, you want your bedrooms much cooler than you do your living room, for example. So you can set, whatever temperature you want in each room for whenever you want it to heat. So you're not wasting energy heating rooms you're not using at particular times. So that's what it is, just very efficient.
Just to pick up on that as well as heating individual rooms. So for a domestic application, for example, you could take it into a commercial application. So we have obviously different heaters for that type of project. But then you can take it down to a zonal heat and spot heating as well. So you can take it even further without having to heat huge spaces like factories, warehouses, churches, and that allows you then to be able to heat and feel the benefit where you specifically need it. In individual cases like working at workbenches or sat on pews in churches, that's the concentration of the focused level of heat.
Because we were saying before we started recording, weren't we, so I've worked in manufacturing on and off for a number of years, and you were saying about yourself doing that as well. And some people who are working in the manufacturing plant, it can be so cold, can't they? You can see somebody and they've got however many layers, going around looking like the Michelin Man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it is just so cold in there.
Yeah.
So I suppose having that zonal heat and that the ability to be able to direct it onto the surfaces and that person would make a massive difference, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're obviously feeling the benefit, or those people are feeling the benefit where they're working, when they need it, for that time that they need it, and you're obviously then not heating that space for hours in advance of when you need to use it. So you are just heating directly, and we do middle wave heaters as well, don't we? So they would have a glow. That will allow it to warm up fast as well. So we've got a full range of heaters to suit all kinds of applications, which I know we'll talk about again in a bit more detail.
Yeah, because I was going to say, if we're looking at, excuse me, those traditional, I know you've kind of explained it a little bit, but when we look at the traditional heating systems and the move to net zero, where do you fit into that? How do you kind of fit into that? Like I say, we got rid of our boiler, we got the heat pump. Is it something that you could, like you said, you could heat a whole house, and would the costs be lower than theoretically than a gas boiler?
It depends on all different situations in terms of whether it's going to be cheaper than a gas boiler. If you look at the total cost of the total cost of ownership, purchase, install, running costs, servicing, etc. It's also that control. That's the key thing, because you have the thermostats in each room and you have got such precise control. And you're not wasting energy heating rooms you're not in. You're moving very much away from that central system, which you're mainly getting with a gas central heating boiler. You don't have that control. You often have like one thermostat in a hallway, and if you've got one person sitting working from home, you're having to heat the whole house kind of thing. With infrared, you are only heating the spaces you need to be in, and that's the difference. So that's where you bring those costs down. But yeah, absolutely. In looking in the sustainable space, ours are obviously powered by electricity, and a lot of our customers will be installing the solar panels and battery storage, which of course is going to very much help towards the running costs. Or you could just switch to a renewable energy supplier, and straight away you're in that space again. The panels themselves have very low embodied carbon as well. You could put a whole system through a house of Herschel comfort panels, and you'd have lower embodied carbon than you would have in, say, one heat pump unit, for example. So it's in every respect, looking at it, it is a very low carbon technology, especially if you look at the comfort panels I mentioned, which we manufacture here in Bristol from mostly locally sourced materials, all British or European. Like, we're using British steel, we're using locally made insulation. The long life element is from Germany, but yeah, they are mostly manufactured from locally sourced materials right here in Bristol. So they have got very low embodied carbon as well. They're fully repairable. So if anything, does go wrong with them, which is very rare with our comfort panels, but they are repairable. And even at end of life, many years down the line, if they were needed to be disposed of, they are almost all the parts are recyclable. I think 95% of the parts are recyclable. All the package is 100% recyclable. So we're doing everything we can, to bring that side of things down as far as possible.
I love that. That's amazing that you're able, the 95% recyclable, because we don't think enough about that, do we? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're talking about the move to decarbonisation, but it's also that impact of end of life products and what happens to those things. So that's amazing. And I was going to say, with regards to now, it's just dawned on me what you've just said about the zonal versus central heating. It's like in this house today, there's only me in this house, but we've got the heat pump kicking out, and I could turn the radiators off, but like you've said, with zonal, it does make a difference. And I have kind of seen other people who've got kind of zonal, not necessarily with kind of infrared panels, but they've got zonal heating, which will make a massive difference. But if you've built that into your specification, that would make a massive difference, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
It does, yeah.
And I mean, going forward, our controls are getting even more sophisticated in terms of, we're already using it in the commercial side of things, aren't we? Our InfraSense controls. And they are going to be, not only have you got room by room control, but you're going to actually have almost like panel by panel control to do with presence detection. So even in a particular room, you won't be using as much power in one panel as you are in another panel if someone's in one side of the room and not the other side of the room. So it's we are absolutely getting it down to those really precise levels, that you are not going to be wasting any of that precious energy, whether it's your stored energy in your battery that you've harnessed from your solar panels, or whether it's from your renewable energy supplier. But we don't need to be using, any CO2 to run these. So they are a very, very, very eco-friendly option.
And I suppose as well, if we kind of look at the commercial side of things, never mind just houses, kind of after lockdown, everything, so many things change. And I know there's more people actually having to go back into the office now, but there's still, that working from home versus working in the office. So I suppose my next question is, from a commercial point of view, what difference does it make for offices and organisations, commercially, when we're looking at the heating side of things?
I think it makes a huge difference. I mean, again, you're looking at entire office buildings scaled down to just a small section of one office, which can be heated separately to the rest of the whole building. I get people come to me with projects where they've designed an office. It's a very large space. They're just looking to heat over, a few particular desks at one end. So it will be, okay, well, that's easy for us to advise on. You can just suspend the heaters over the desks. You can have them wired individually to thermostats, so you can even control desk by desk, or even heater by heater. If they're particularly large desks, then you can have one end heated and not the other. So it can really be scaled down to, to that sort of level. It's very precise and very focused. And of course, the cost of running them would be massively impacted then to what they would be using with gas blowers or any kind of heating system that they're currently using. or in conjunction with anything else. You know, we can also use it as a hybrid with underfloor heating, or any of those technologies. We can use that as a hybrid model.
And people do use it also as supplementary heat.
Yeah.
So it's not always has to be your sole source of heating. You can use it as supplementary heat. People who have got rooms that aren't getting up to temperature for whatever reason with the existing system they've got, but they don't want to, you know, they're not in a position yet to rip that out. They can come and add some infrared panels to just supplement. So it's their flexibility, their versatility is a massive plus point as well.
Huge, yeah.
And I was going to say, looking at the different settings, so I mean, if for those of you watching and listening, you've got to look at the Herschel website, because the number of different areas that you're covering, you know, is fabulous. So you've got your home, outdoor, businesses, churches. And I did say we've got to talk hot yoga and wellness at some point, because I think, but you know, there are so many. You're covering a massive spectrum of use cases, aren't you? Yeah. Really.
I was doing one for a narrow boat yesterday.
Did you? Oh my God. I bet that's brilliant. Oh, because I've seen narrow boats as well, and they have solar panels on the top as well, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
So would that integrate with the solar panels? Integrate with that?
Yeah,
wow.
I think, didn't you have an inquiry for a giraffe enclosure?
I
recently?
did, yes. Yeah. It was down at a zoo down in the southwest, and they wanted the giraffes. Obviously, there's a bit of a logistical issue with that one, but giraffes and the rhino enclosure as well. So yeah, we literally get everything you can think of. We're asked the question, can you heat this?
Yeah, and that's it. We're that low carbon technology that can heat any application, where something like the heat pump, for example, might not be the solution for, again, whatever reason. The infrared often can be, or in conjunction with the heat pump. Again, it can be in conjunction with any existing heating system. So that can be quite a successful solution as well.
And I would say, and I said this to you before, didn't I? They're very aesthetically pleasing, because they're just slim lines. So what are they? Are they all very similar, kind of, you know, width, as in, you know, kind of.
Yeah. So depth wise.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Depth.
One of the things I don't think we've mentioned actually is where you put them. Is with the panels you can ceiling mount them. So they're very discrete white panels. Depth wise, the front face of the panel would sit just under 5 centimetres from the ceiling. So that's including the depth of the panel and the bracket that's fixed to the ceiling. And actually we have got a range that you can recess into the ceiling as well, the crystal panels. But once they're up there, they're very discreet and you really don't notice them at all. Or you can wall mount them. That's perfectly possible too. But you can get them as mirror panels. You can get them with pictures printed on them. You can get them as towel heater panels. The comfort panels, the ones that we manufacture here in Bristol, you can get them in different colours. So we've got a number of RAL codes on the website. You can buy a standard, or you can, any RAL code you give us, we can get it painted in that colour. So some people will, what do you call it when you, have everything the same colour? I've forgotten the term now. Sometimes it's colour
match.
When you have everything, that comes.
Oh yeah, so it integrates into your kind of colour.
With your walls. They're a hugely discreet solution, or you can have them literally, invisible in plain sight as your pictures or your mirrors.
So you've got your dogs on one.
I have got my dogs on one as well.
Picture panel.
Yes.
Oh my God, blimey! Because I was going to say, you've talked it just in the last few minutes. It's blown my mind that how do you actually how do you go about looking at the requirements of the different areas that you're looking at? So, you're talking commercial office buildings or manufacturing plants versus a rhino enclosure. What? How do you go about deciding, working out, okay, what's going to work here? And like you said about the giraffes, and well, we know how tall they are. And how do you, as business development people, get your heads around all of that? Is it just like, we know what that's going to work out, it's going to be this size, I'll need that many panels, or do you just kind of go, oh my God?
There's a bit of science to it, I think. There's a lot of questions to ask about what their expectations are of the heaters and what they're expecting them to achieve. But then, I mean, we work daily, don't we, doing specifications.
Yeah.
So Jane will do a lot on the domestic side. I will do a lot on commercial. Each one is very different. We need different information for each one. So obviously the commercial would be more like, well, are you looking to space heat? Are you looking to zone heat? I know that Jane will have domestic. It will be, you know, insulation levels are really important to understand. Window types, where they're positioning them, where they're looking to achieve the most benefit. So yeah, I think it's varied, very varied.
If you're looking at it in domestic settings where it tends to be just enclosed rooms, then you're looking at your heat loss. You've got to work out the heat loss and replace it with the appropriate wattage, and that is determined by the size of the space, but very much so, as Amy says, the insulation levels, the type, amount of glazing, number of external walls, things like that. So actually it's simpler on the domestic side of things. You've got your space, you work out the heat loss, and then you work out the number and size of panels you need to counteract that heat loss, and then what the customer wants aesthetically. Commercial's a little bit more involved, isn't it? Because
it can be. I mean, that's sort of, you're getting into floor plans and all of that, and trying to work out and understand from the customer more specifically where they want to feel that benefit, as I said before. So it's, you know, are you looking to heat people at workbenches? Are you looking to heat this whole factory? Because we do a solution for that as well. So the spot heating goes alongside the blanket coverage, we call it. So yeah, an entire factory floor, even down to sort of just a guy at a bench doing what he's doing, making things. So yeah, it's extremely varied, and we have the product basically to suit every need.
That's it. We have with such a wide range of products, and we've got a huge amount of experience of heating all sorts of different applications. So we can pretty much heat anything. I think it's very rare that we've been stumped and can't heat a space. And of course, the churches, you'll go and take scans there, won't you, to Kelvin?
Oh, the churches! Oh my God, I've just. That just blew my mind when I was talking to your colleague Sam, and I had a look at your the solution you got for the churches, and is beautiful.
It is.
It is absolutely beautiful. So they're called halo heaters, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
Are they all hung from the ceiling at a specific? Are they kind of? Tell us how did you do that, and how did you get into it? And because some churches are, I've got a thing about going around cathedrals and churches. I've got to say, I'm not religious, but I just love looking at the architecture and the glass, the stained glass windows and the age and stuff like that. How the heck did you get into churches? Because they are flipping cold sometimes, aren't they?
Very cold, and as you say, very hard to heat. So again, it has to be very focused heat. Heat the people, not the entire space, because they are such large old buildings. So I think with the halo heaters, in the way that they've been designed, it's to be very aesthetically sympathetic to the building. There's a lot of work that we do. So I will go in and conduct a scan of the building, which will give me a 3D visual, so that I can then pop it into some software that we use to provide visuals for the church, to basically say to them, right, well, we'll have the discussion beforehand. How do you want to heat this? Which areas are you looking to focus on specifically? Obviously, the main aim is to decarbonise and to achieve that net zero target of the Church of England for 2030. So that a lot of the conversation will pivot around that. But so it's putting things into the software, providing visuals, ensuring that we've got the coverage where they need it, but also taking into account any of maybe their architects' comments on where they can position these heaters. We need to be mindful of stained glass windows and things like that. So there's a lot to take into consideration with the halos. But one thing's for sure is that they are very, very beautiful, that we can customise them specifically to any of the designs that the church might choose. So any of the motifs that they might want, we can laser cut them onto the sides. If they want lights, they can have lights. If they don't want lights, there's a lot to discuss with the church on the halo. But they're an excellent product, and we've got some excellent feedback from a lot of churches. I think there's one, up north. I think they're seeing savings of around £1,000 a month on their consumption.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Anything like that for a space like a church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of,
Imagine going from when they were heating though, trying to heat with big gas boilers and things, heating the air in a space like that just doesn't make any sense at all, does it? It would all rise up to the ceiling.
It's not as if you've got, you can insulate a stained glass window, is it? Do you know what I mean? And they are such drafty places. So
But they're heating these buildings, for days ahead of a service that they might only hold once a week. So it's not efficient to be doing it that way. Obviously, it costs a lot of money, and the carbon element of it. So I think the Halo heaters are proving very successful, and we are getting a lot of inquiries for Halo heaters, and I'm doing a lot of specifications at the moment, which is great.
You can also put mini versions of the Halo, called the Halo Mini, into domestic settings as well. So, I've done some of those. So where you've got very hard to heat domestic settings. So I've just done one where they've got a double height ceiling with a mezzanine running around the side, really struggling to heat that space. So, and they had a lighting chandelier in there anyway. So they've replaced that with the Halo, Mini Halo, which is now heating the whole space for them. So absolutely delighted with it. And they've just chosen a really beautiful kind of tulip design to go around the edge of the motif, the tulip motif to go around the edge of that Halo. So also available for domestic spaces, hard to heat domestic spaces. I quoted for a very high ceiling Georgian living space as well. So they work well in those barn conversions, things like that. Converted churches, converted chapels as well. So they're a good option too, the Mini Halo.
they just, they do look amazing. And the fact that you're able to fill that need is just fantastic. Can I just ask you, so is there a need to, because there are certain things, like when we had our solar panels and our heat pump and all of that kind of stuff put in, and there had to be some kind of interaction with our DNO, because I can't remember what you call it. Is it to go to different phases? Making sure that you had enough, you had enough electricity coming into the house. There was nothing going to blow or anything like that.
Yeah.
When you're actually bringing in your infrared heating, or depending on what the size of the place is, does that have to be another interaction with the DNO? Do you have to actually bring them in, or does it work so domestically and commercial? I know it'd be very different, but say if you say, kind of, Jane, if you say like on a domestic point of view, if a house, depending on the size, has, they want panels in every single room, for example, would that actually then mean that you'd have to kind of have that kind of switch?
They would have to look at the supply side of things. If they're going, for example, from heating the house with gas to heating with electricity, obviously the electricity consumption is going to go up. But I don't think I've ever encountered an issue with it. They might have to increase the supply, but it's never been a problem in doing so. So, but it's something they're going to have to look at installation stage. Yeah, most certainly.
Right.
Yeah, commercial is slightly different, isn't it? Because they might have to, go to the 3-phase, etc.
Commercial, definitely, and also the churches. I mean, obviously they're looking at upgrading a lot when they come to do these renovations. So upgrading from single to 3-phase supply is often on the cards for a lot of the churches, and also commercial buildings, where they might be looking to obviously put in that supply. But I think the benefit then is, again, back to the zoning, that you can control these heaters. They don't need to necessarily all be on at the same time. If you've got those individual control abilities, then you can obviously minimise the power consumption as well. So that's an important...
that makes a massive difference, doesn't it? Just going back, I was going to ask you about, when you were talking, Jane, about insulation. Well, I think both of you were saying about insulation, but from a domestic point of view, if you're kind of going in and you're doing that heat loss calculation, because we had to have that done, but we were kind of told that it didn't really matter whether we had, like, of course, if you have fantastic insulation, it's going to make a massive difference. But we're in a 1950s house. It's not perfect, so that we were kind of told that actually as long as they knew what the heat loss calculation was, you could work out what the radiators needed to be.
Yeah,
And I suppose
absolutely.
that's the
Yeah.
same.
You know, ideally, we'd love every house to be fully insulated, you know, using very little heat at all. But that's not the reality of the situation. So, yeah, we would always encourage customers to insulate their houses where they can. It's not always possible. It often isn't possible. And people have had huge problems, haven't they, when they have tried to insulate the houses in the wrong way. So all we need to know is have the correct information at the outset, and know the levels of insulation in the external walls, in the floors, in the ceilings, and so we can work out the heat loss. We can put then the correct wattage in there based on the heat loss. It just means that if your house isn't as well insulated, you are going to need more wattage, which means you're going to have slightly higher running costs. That's the that's going to be the outcome of that. So it depends whether you are able to add any insulation at those early stages or not. But yeah, we can heat any space. We can heat completely uninsulated buildings, and I have done very old properties. It just means you will have a higher wattage requirement. That's all.
And I was going to say, it's just brought me back to my own parents' house that when I was living in Halifax in West Yorkshire. Like, I moved down here back in the 90s, but my parents only just got central heating when I left in 1995. And I think they put it in after I'd gone, actually. I was like, thanks. But, you know, looking at the radiators they put in, they were really chunky, whereas yours would be so, you know, and I know that's a long time ago, but actually a house like that, you know, where it didn't have any heating at all, and oh my God, it was cold.
Yeah.
You know, to go to something that is kind of aesthetically pleasing, it's kind of not very deep, but it heats, and it heats really efficiently, then that's a massive difference, isn't it?
It does, and also that's, I mean, obviously one of the main benefits, but there are many others as well, because it heats in the way it does. It's much healthier for the building. So because you're heating surfaces directly, you don't get that issue, which you so often get when you're heating the air with any convection type of system, where you've got your warm air passing over cold surfaces, because heating the air doesn't heat up the surfaces. And that's when you get issues with condensation and damp and mold. So with the infrared, you're doing the opposite. You're heating the surfaces directly, so your surfaces are warm before your air. So you don't get those issues. So a lot of people like to put it in for those reasons. It actually, because it's healthier for the building, means in turn it's healthier for us. They also, looking at costings as well, going forward, obviously it's a very reasonable purchase cost at the outset anyway, compared to a lot of other systems. But you don't have to have them serviced. It's all solid state elements. There's no moving parts, so you don't have those servicing costs once a year as well, and that's a cost saving going forward. If you ever do have a problem with a panel, which as I say is rare, but if you do, then you might lose one panel temporarily for repair or replacement, not your whole system.
No.
So you're not in that situation where your boiler goes and you've lost everything.
Oh yeah, we've been there. We were there.
Yeah. So yeah, there's so many benefits to it, as well as being the low carbon technology it is. That the efficiency and the aesthetic is super important, but there's other things to look at as well.
Oh, you've just reminded me. So I was saying, I probably said to you before, didn't I, about my son being in? I did say this about my son being at Exeter University, and he's in a house share at the moment, and they've got terrible mould. They're all drying their clothes in their rooms, but it's not just there. That, you know, kind of the condensation on his windows and the mould, and he doesn't. It's not good for you anyway, is it? No. So I bought him a dehumidifier and kind of a heated airer to try and dry the clothes quick. And of course, the washing machine wasn't working efficiently. So he was getting stuff out, and rather than putting it back in again to dry it off, it was sopping, as my mum used to call it, sopping wet.
Yeah.
It was sopping wet. And, and it was just, he even got mould in his wardrobe. As in, but he was opening his door so he could, because it's only a little room. So these things actually, it's just dawned on me that if the landlord would have put the Herschel infrared panels in, it would have probably not done that, would it? You know,
No.
maybe not totally got rid of every problem, but yeah, it's just
It
been
doesn't
shocking.
cause those problems, and can help to
Yeah.
resolve them. You should get him a portable infrared heater, then you can go and pop it in his room for him.
No.
That'll help.
Oh my God. Yeah, I should have done, shouldn't I? I mean, he's literally, we're recording this in March. He's going to be leaving at the end of May. So they were all going to be staying for next year as well, but it's all kind of gone a bit peak tongue. But that's another story to tell. But do you know what? I do want to just mention, going back to what you said about kind of insulation. How I found out about Herschel was, and we talked about this before we started recording, was one of my very, very first podcast recordings in late 2022, 2023, which was Juliet Davenport, and she had a loft like office conversion, and she had fantastic insulation and Herschel infrared panels, and she was singing your praises, and what we were saying there about, kind of making sure that if you can get really good insulation. I mean, she did.
Yeah.
You could tell she did an amazing job.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we get, which is lovely. And it's not often you have, customers come back to you in this kind of industry and want to tell you how much they love their heating, because it's something people usually take for granted, isn't it? But because it is so different, that feeling of the far infrared, it's the heat that we absorb the most readily because of our water content. So it's hugely comfortable heat to be in. So yeah, everyone loves the efficiency and the aesthetic, but that's what they come and tell us about, is the actual comfort levels and how well it works. But yeah, the insulation makes a huge difference. If you've got a very, very well insulated house versus a poorly insulated house, the well insulated house is going to need less than half the wattage of the poorly insulated house. So it does make a difference, but we can still heat that poorly insulated house.
Yeah.
It's all doable, and that's what's brilliant about this solution. We can heat anything.
Like rhinos and giraffes. I mean, yeah, that's not really going to be insulated, is it? Really? I was thinking,
No.
And they do need to keep warm, So if we're going back to the products, are there products that people start with, and then so you start small, and then kind of go, I just want to try this out, and then
It's
go.
interesting, actually, you say that, because I've had a few people that have had heaters in their home, so obviously the comfort panels like Jane was talking about, and they've put them in their domestic environments and then come to us and said, oh, actually, I've been on your website and I've seen the churches and I'm a member of this church. Could you now come and have a look at what we could do there? So there is a domino effect almost with a lot of these products that you start with or you might start with a portable, and then all of a sudden, you've done your whole house and you're loving it. So, yeah.
That is true. People do that. They'll get a portable heater for like their office, which is cold, and they're the only one in the house, and they don't want to put their heating on. So, you can be heating your office for very, very little money. And then they're like, oh, this is great. This works really well. And then they'll say, oh, I'll just do another room, then another room. And that's what you can do with this heating as well.
And I suppose just thinking about it, that direct heat as well. This might sound a really silly question, do you get lots of elderly people, asking you? Because that's kind of, care homes, and because they don't move around a lot, do they? Do you know what I mean? When we're all going to get there one day, sorry and all. But does it work? Because I remember my grandma, she used to, and even my mum, bless her, they kind of sit in a chair and just, keeping having that heat on them. It's good, isn't it?
Localized way. It's a very popular way of doing it as well. We sell portable panels as well as panels that you can install, and you can literally plug a panel in and put it quite near you, and it'll just be heating you as an object. It'll be lower wattage, so it won't be enough wattage to bring the whole room up to temperature, but you don't need to do that all the time. So yeah, absolutely, we do that. I did a single story property recently for a gentleman who had a couple of different conditions and was very much bed bound, and he couldn't, because of his condition, he was very cold a lot of the time, and so he did have actually a boiler, a normal gas central heat system, but that couldn't get the house up to a high enough temperature. So we added infrared to top it up even further to particularly high temperatures, and had them positioned specifically where he would feel that direct benefit while he was in his bed, or when he'd been moved using the hoist into a particular chair and things like that. So yeah, absolutely, it works very well in those kind of settings as well.
It's so flexible though, because as you say, you can have that very localized level of heat. And also we've done quite a few commercial applications where, if you want to then take your heaters with you, you can do that. So you can take, if you move house or you move, offices, buildings, factories, you can then take those heaters with you, as opposed to, leaving them there and have that system move with you, which is amazing.
Yeah, you can't do that anywhere else, can you really, with anything? Oh my God. So are there any, I mean, I know you said about the rhinos and the giraffes and stuff, but are there any other common problems that people come to you about, whether it's a domestic or a commercial setting, that you kind of, that they're trying to solve? Are there things that you kind of get, oh, that's happening quite a lot,
I suppose just supplementing existing heaters that aren't doing the job, and that can be all different types of heaters. Think of other kinds of...
You've got any kind of heating really that you'd find domestically underfloor, or if you're looking to supplement, you've got a log burner that you might not want to use, all the way through the year, and you then want to move to panels, maybe if you want the year to be a bit cleaner or greener.
A lot of the time when people are doing extensions, they don't want to run their existing heating into the new extension, or their existing system might not have the capacity to do that either. A lot of extensions, as you can imagine, are big open plan kitchen extensions, and people don't want to stick one radiator on a far wall in a very large space, but the beauty of our panels is they can be ceiling mounted, so you can actually have more of them dotted around to heat a large open plan space. And often in kitchens, etc., you don't have any wall space, you have cabinets, you have very large bifold doors, etc., so they don't have the space to actually put any radiators. So that's the fact that you can ceiling mount them across those types of spaces is something that people find very beneficial.
I was going to say, I know somebody who's moved into a house recently with like an Aga, which obviously when they're on, they heat up massively, but you probably don't want an Aga on to be on all the time, do you? So I'm sure from that point of view that'd probably help him, wouldn't it? What about I'm thinking out of other things now, like conservatories, because I'm assuming that would be that'd be a perfect kind of, or because there's a lot of like garden rooms and things like that.
Yeah, do a lot of conservatories. Because of the amount of glazing in conservatories, you often have to look at the higher wattage heaters. So that's where there's a bit of a crossover between possibly the commercial heating and the domestic. Because there's nowhere to put, you can't even ceiling mount panels in conservatories often because you've got a lot of glazed roofs, etc. But you can have the smaller like space heaters, you might be able to put them on a bulkhead facing into a conservatory setting, something like that. So yeah, absolutely, it's just getting the right product into that kind of space. But yeah, I do a lot of conservatories. Think of all the, we've done pool houses and outdoor settings. Like pub gardens and marquees and
gazebos, everything really.
All sorts with the infrared, because you can heat people directly, even if you haven't got the thermal mass. Then that's when you're having to look at the different heater types.
Are people surprised by your products? when they realise, you know, so like somebody can probably, like a business or a domestic or an outdoor situation, you know, they'll buy your products and think, oh yeah, this is a good idea, carbon, you know, sort of low carbon, decarbonisation wise, but then actually realise how amazing, you know.
I think someone just posted a lovely review this morning for us of this is when I snuck over into the commercial side of things recently and did a retail shop, I think it was a mobile phone shop. And they had been struggling to heat it for I think they'd been there for many, many years, and they were doing a refurbishment of it, re-kitting out everything, and swapped out their system for 4 of our aspect heaters, which are they look more like bar heaters with ceramic elements. But I just read the review this morning, and it said how for the first time in 20 years they've been able to actually leave the door open for a bit and still be really toasty warm in there, and they've only had to have 2 of the 4 on at the moment because it's not that cold outside at the moment, so that's what's made a bit of a difference.
So I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions and then kind of wrap up. Looking ahead, how do you think heating in homes, domestic situations and commercial situations, will it evolve over the next 10 years? And this is a second question, because I know that there's kind of like, if we're looking at grants, what would you like to see the grant situation look like in the next few years?
Well, I think what we need is like I said at the beginning, to be recognised as that another, not the only, an additional low carbon technology out there. I mean, if you look at the homes plan that the government released in January, and they're wanting to decarbonise housing and cut energy bills and tackle fuel poverty. And they're committing £15 billion to do this. I think they're wanting to upgrade something like 5 million homes by 2030, something like that. And they're looking at the technologies, so they're focusing on solar panels and battery storage. Great, that's what we need. They're looking at upgrading the insulation levels, perfect. Lower those heat losses. Smart controls, really important. And the heat pumps, great. But infrared is another technology, another low carbon technology that needs to be out there in that space as well. And as you say, there are no grants towards it as well. You know, in that briefing as well, they're talking about having to increase UK manufacturing capacity. We're already manufacturing in the UK. You know, we're already there with a solution that is so easy to install in all these different applications like we've discussed. So we need that to be recognised. I mean, we're already working we're executive members, in fact, of the SEA, the Sustainable Energy Association. So, you know, our aim is to continue to work closely with them to evolve policy solutions to ensure that infrared is one of the key technologies that is out there. That's what we need. We need to be recognised because it is such a successful solution, both domestically and commercially as well. But yeah, in the domestic side of things, that's what we need to see going forward. We need to be recognised. We need, you know, to have grants in this. Looking at tackling fuel poverty, if we had grants towards our solutions, which are very affordable in the first place, that would make a huge difference. You know, looking at social housing as well. So yeah, it needs to be more recognised as the brilliant, efficient electric solution it is out there. Because our controls, as I mentioned earlier, are becoming more and more sophisticated. With the controls, the InfraSense solution we've got coming out shortly that we're already using in the commercial side of things, we're going to have such precise control over heating, even in different areas of different rooms, that it's going to become such an efficient, even more efficient and affordable way of heating homes that it just needs to be, more out there, more recognised, more understood.
Definitely.
And that it is the way we're going to go. You know, we're sat here at the moment in our experience lounge, which is, you know, the first of its type in the UK. It's a climate-controlled infrared heat test facility. So, and it is, as I understand it, the first one. So we're surrounded here. It's like a living room setting. So our customers could come here and feel the heat and feel what it's like to come into a living room space. It's even, you can't see the whole thing, but it's even decorated nicely like a living room, because that's what they want to do. They want to say, well, what's it going to feel like in my living room? And we can do that at any time of year because we've got a bespoke environmental chamber around here. which allows it's been engineered to replicate actual real world heat loss. So similar to how you'd lose heat in your home. And we can, so even on a hot summer's day, we can control the environment around here. So we can walk them into a room and say, this is what it would feel like walking into your living room. But even more important than that, it's this a state-of-the-art research facility. So we've got, I think, 40 temperature sensors around here and multiple thermal imaging cameras. And that allows us to analyse the thermal dynamics of infrared. It allows us to test all our new products in here. It allows us to test against other heating products as well. So we've already got loads of data from all the testing we've done in this setting. So we've got all this evidence, we've got all this data. So yeah, we just need to be pushing forward. But like I say, with our membership, with the executive membership, with the SEA, we are helping to evolve policy as well. So yeah, it is going to change going forward, and people will become far more aware of what a good low carbon technology it is.
That's good. And when you were saying about social housing, gone are the days of those horrible, but economy 7 electric storage heaters that just had that big brick in them at night, and then when nobody was in the house, the house was what was the point of that? So yeah, looking at that kind of social housing side, that what you've got, all your kind of use cases, or a lot of the use cases will work in those settings brilliantly, won't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And also tackling those issues that, as we discussed, about the condensation and the mold and damp and things like that.
And I think going forward with that application, the way that our controls work is so smart and so innovative that it will be able to feed back information further down the line to dictate how the system's used, how you can, heat your homes more efficiently, more cost effectively. So, all that will be covered in what we're planning to do going forward.
We're working with... Oh, sorry.
No, go.
I was going to say, we're working with other IR companies along with universities and academics to develop a test standard for infrared going forward. And we've got applications in for Appendix Q for our comfort panels. So that's all going to make a difference as well as we move forward.
That's brilliant. I suppose the final question is, what do you want, if there was one thing about infrared heating that you wanted to leave the viewers and the listeners with, what would it both be? For both of you, what would it be? You can have one answer each.
One thing going forward. I think just to understand it better, to understand it as a solution, to know that if they want a environmentally friendly, efficient electric solution, that this is the way to go, that you can control it so precisely. To understand how that works around their home, so they can get that precise control and make those cost savings going forward. But also to know that, sorry, I'm harking back again here, but talking about our comfort panels again that we manufacture here alongside a lot of our commercial products as well, our halos and our aspects and things like that. But our comfort panels that us as a company, Herschel, that we have got those, we have got them all tested and certified to the IEC 60675 test standard, the radiant efficiency standard. So, just the quality of our products, to understand, just how efficient they can be and how easy and simple as well they can be. It's actually a very, very simple, straightforward technology.
And it's not a new technology by far. Yeah, to just come and experience it and chat to us, we're friendly enough, I think.
That's a really good point, isn't it?
I'd love to come down. No, I will definitely love to come down and have a look as well.
Yeah, you definitely should.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love it. I love it. Listen, it's been so interesting listening to you. So much so that I do want to come down to Bristol, and I do pass you a lot when I'm heading down to pick my son up or take him back down to Exeter. So yeah, I will head in and have a look, because it sounds brilliant. And I want to check out some of the churches where you've got your halo, because they just look amazing. So So just to say thank you, ladies. Thank you ever so much for joining me. And I'm so over the moon that you've joined me, because this, for everybody watching and listening, might be one of the it's probably going to be one of the last podcasts that I'm doing. We've been doing this for well, there'll be a few more. I'm not quite sure when we're going to finish yet, but this is over 3 years now, without a stop, without a break.
Oh gosh, yeah.
You know, so I'm so over the moon that I've actually managed to get you guys on. You will everybody will be, you know, enthralled by listening to
Thank you
this.
for having us.
Yeah.
It's been our pleasure.
Yeah, definitely.
So to everybody watching and listening, and that's probably just come as a bit of a bombshell to you all. I can imagine, but there are going to be a few more episodes. We will see how it goes. But yeah, I'm just thank you to both Jane and Amy. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today, and everybody else. We are still around. Watch, subscribe, share, all of that kind of stuff, you know. And thank you. I'm going to say see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for watching Electric Evolution with Liz Allan. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. If you're a charge point operator, local authority or stakeholder in EV charging, I'd love to talk to you about our Charge Point Evolution framework. It's designed to help you create a seamless EV driver journey, boost utilisation and maximise your return on investment. Alternatively, if you know someone who'd be a great podcast guest or might be interested in sponsoring an episode, you can email me on liz@fullcircleci.co.uk. Thanks again for watching.